I now recognize Representative Bera.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the Atlantic article from yesterday that Mr. Chairman was referring to.
So ordered.
In that article, and we'll make sure you get a copy, Secretary Riggs, it talks about 500 tons of emergency aid, high-energy biscuits that are going to get incinerated. Now, I come from the private sector. We spent $800,000 on shipping that aid over, and it was stored in warehouses in the Middle East. We're going to spend another $130,000 to incinerate those biscuits that have been sitting there. That, to me, does not seem like a good financial investment, since those were already sunk costs. We should have gotten that food to save lives of kids. We've not met before. I don't know you, so I'll take you as an honest public servant. I appreciate that you describe the folks that work for the State Department, for USAID, as talented and patriotic Americans. They are talented and patriotic Americans. I've traveled across this world, gone into refugee camps, gone into conflict zones in Africa and in Asia and elsewhere, and you see these men and women, these diplomats, these civil servants out there doing their work every day, and I think it's reprehensible how they've been treated. Again, I'm not arguing if you want to do a reorganization, if you want to go through section by section, program by program, but how these folks have been treated in terms of being laid off one day, saying, hey, come back the next day, being laid off the next day, you're going to lose a ton of talent, these folks that are at the peak of their career. And when we try to rebuild these organizations, even if they're streamlined and elsewhere, these folks are not coming back because of how poorly they've been treated. And that is extremely unfortunate. And to folks that are watching out there, I am sorry that you were treated that way. You guys are, as the Secretary said, talented and patriotic Americans. I appreciate that this country has changed now. I'm a doctor by training. Part of what led me into public service was growing up in the 70s and 80s and seeing what we did when we saw commercials of babies in Africa starving to death, swollen bellies, flies on their eyes. We didn't just sit around. We're a faith-based country. I appreciate the chairman has us recite the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God. This is not what a faith-based country does. I talk to faith-based aid organizations all the time. We're a benevolent country of abundance. Our values are saying those folks that are dying out there, even if their governments don't agree with us, even if their governments don't vote for us, we don't want to see kids die. Is that who we are? Are we going to change who we are as a country? That isn't what I believe that I believe in. I think this is a great nation, the United States of America. I think we're a nation that has been blessed. And I think we have a responsibility to lead the rest of the world based on our values. I understand, I've heard my colleagues on the other side, and in your opening testimony, you said, well, this is no longer about being out there benevolent and saving lives. This is about trade, not aid. I hope that's not who we've become as a country. I hope we are not now saying, okay, well, we'll go out and save those kids' lives, but you know what? Here's what you got to do in return for that. Again, that's not the America that I believe in. We designed a system that both supported American farmers, supported our economy, saved lives, put food out there, put medicines out there. Mr. Sherman's correct. Millions of people are going to die around the world because we're not there, because of the vacuum. Secretary, do you know what percentage of our budget goes, the United States budget goes to foreign aid? Is it more or less than 5%?
Oh, it's certainly less than 5%.
Is it less than 2%?
So, yeah, I believe it's less than 1% of the total foreign budget. I think
it is less than 1% of our budget. So if we spend less than 1% of our budget, but we actually do good work around the world, we save lives. I've been to refugee camps where I see that American flag and it says, from the people of the United States. I've gone into villages post the Ebola crisis where they greet us and they're cheering us and they're saying, thank you to the people of the United States. You saved our lives. That is what we do. That is what this is about. That is who we were blessed to be as the United States of America. I don't want to be China. I don't want to be Russia. The way they operate is purely transactional, and they don't do it for the betterment of the world. The world that we've created post-World War II, the United States of America, we damn well better be proud of it. And I am extremely disappointed that what is happening under this administration is going to leave us weaker and less benevolent and more transactional. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Bera. I think you speak, true to your heart. We've traveled together, we've been together. I think it's always an important thing as we look at the budget, and I think we can all acknowledge it's less than 1%, but it's still a borrowed 1% that we are dealing with. It's a 1% that we have to go out there and ask somebody else for money for. And just reflecting personally, most of us don't go out there and ask our local banks for a loan so that we can give that loan away. And it's something that we have to wrestle with as Americans as we deal with our budget. And I appreciate your thoughts on the issue.
I'll just make one comment to that. I completely agree with your comments, Congressman. The life-saving humanitarian assistance has been exempted from the Secretary's Foreign Assistance Review, so that aid would continue to flow. I think we're looking at all of these other examples that are not this life-saving kind of humanitarian assistance. And even to the extent that we are providing that aid, there has to be some kind of graduation strategy so that 1 year, 3 years, 5 years down the road, these countries are able to assume that obligation themselves for their populations.
But don't incinerate food aid that is out there, like the aid that is in warehouses, et cetera. Deliver that aid to folks before it spoils. Yeah, it's going to cost a little bit to sign those contracts and so forth, but let's not, those are sunk costs. Get that food to folks and let's save those lives.